हवा के अमल में सबसे अहम बात जो यहाँ बतानी बहुत ज़रूरी है वो उसके जो मटेरियल वो जो कैरी उसने किया हुआ है वो मुख्तलिफ साइज़ का मटेरियल है। और वो जब मूव होता है तो उसमें जो सॉल्टेशन का प्रोसेस है, जिसमें बाउंसिंग बैक भी है, जिसमें उसकी जो है वो इरोजनल वर्क ड्यूरिंग द प्रोसेस ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, वो भी बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है। सो ड्यूरिंग ट्रांसपोर्टेशन the wind has very important or aggressive agent over the surface of the earth. Now, when the currents are moving upward, so you can see the finest particle is moving along the wind direction. So इसको हम सस्पेंशन कहते हैं, यानी वो मटेरियल जो कि अर्थ के साथ जो अपर लेयर्स हैं वहाँ मूव कर रहा है और वो सस्पेंशन की सेंस में आगे ट्रांसपोर्ट हो रहा है मटेरियल. And wind which is nearer to the earth's surface, actually it suspend particle less than 0.2 millimeter in diameter. So 0.2 millimeter diameter में वो अर्थ के करीब उसकी मूवमेंट है, but again it is controlled by the velocity of the wind. So most of the areas which are important in the transportational work of the wind actually is in the desert regions. So in desert areas, which are actually the semi-arid or arid type of climate, the wind transportational work is very important there, and that is one of the area where we have the making of the landforms. So wind action or wind erosion occurs primarily in arid or desert areas. The particles about the size of the silt or clay are lifted high into the wind flow. The transport of larger grain takes place in a process called saltation, in which grains are lifted up to 1 meter in the air as each particle bounces back to the surface. It collides with other fragments that are too larger to be lifted and shunts them along in a creeping motion. This results in the build-up of the ripples and dunes. So this slide shows one of the features of the desert environment, the making of the ripples and dunes. So here we have another diagram which is very important for the making of the landform over the desert type of environment. Atmospheric wind and storm system can be so energetic that they carry enormous volumes of dust, silt and fine sand. As wind subsides, it deposits the material it is carrying. In this diagram, the wind is coming from one of the area of the deserts. So the windward side is actually is in a gradual slope, but the leeward side is in steeper one. So, but this actually is the process in the making of the landform in the desert type of environment. This is the desert map of the world. Here we have the yellow color, which is actually a desert environment of the world, which is present over the surface of the earth, and most of the area is under the arid and semi-arid type of climate. Now here in the northern hemisphere, this actually is the Gobi Desert, and here we have the desert environment of Pakistan, which composed of the Tharparkar, the Cholistan, the Thel Desert, and the Rajasthan, which is closer to the Indian territory, and the Syrian Desert, then Arabian Desert area, the Sahara, which is the largest desert of the world, and then the Great Basin Desert, the Patagonia, the sandy desert of Australia. So these are the major deserts of the world. Now here one thing is very important. A strong wind can carry sediment over vast distances. Particles from the Sahara Desert in Africa have been found deposited on the opposite side of the Atlantic in Barbados. So here one thing is very important कि उसकी जो विंड ने ट्रांसपोर्ट किया मटेरियल को वो सहारा डेजर्ट से उसने यहाँ बारबुदस में डिपॉजिट किया मटेरियल को. Now the wind has deposited the material from Sahara to the Barbudas. So there you will see the material which is belongs to the far-flung area, but due to the carrying capacity of the wind and the wind velocity, the wind has deposited across the Atlantic Sea and deposit in the island type of environment. Now most of the wind-formed landscapes are situated within the world hot, arid equatorial deserts. These are the equatorial deserts which are closer to the equator, and that's why we have the high temperatures in the air, less precipitation, and most of this area is under the less precipitation, which is actually the tropical areas. But this area has high precipitation. You see is no desert here, but the tropical areas which are far from the equator are called the arid type of environment. So why? Because of the high pressure zones. Although there are significant mid-latitude deserts as Gobi Desert in Asia. So this is actually a mid-latitude desert which is in the center of the Asia. But most of the deserts are the equatorial type of environment, which is called the hot, arid equatorial. The most striking desert landform caused by the wind-blown deposit are dunes, which are usually 5 to 30 meters high. Some dunes are concentrated in huge sand sea called Arig, which have an area of more than 32,000 square kilometers. Dunes vary in size and include ripples and ridges, which are transverse and parallel to the wind directions. This slide shows that is a type of desert environment, but is called the Arg. It is also called the sand sea, a broad flat area of desert covered with wind-swept sand along little or no vegetation cover. Now one of the depositional feature of the wind action is barkhan. So if wind is coming from the one of the side of the desert, so this actually is a gentle slope which is a ripple, and then is a steeper one, and wind always be in a like this situation, and that's why we have the certain area under erosion of the wind, and this is called actually the slip phase, which is the leeward side of the wind also, and then it will pass through the other area. So this is actually a feature which is called a barkhan or crescent shaped dunes. These are the horns of the crescent shaped dunes, and when the wind move with same speed with same direction, so this type of environment is created. So barkhan is crescent shaped sand dunes produced by wind action predominantly from one direction. It is an arc shape with a gentle slope facing toward the wind. This type of dune possesses two horns that face windward with the steeper slope known as the slip face. Barkhans may be 10 to 30 meter high and 350 meters wide at the base. Now this slide shows one of the feature of the wind action. This is called the blowout dunes, are formed mostly in coastal environment as the wind blows dry sand inward beyond the beach. Blowout provide an important habitat for flora and fauna. These are also called the parabolic dunes. Now this actually is a parabolic type of environment, but here we have a wind action. To wind action, the most of the material are lifted. So this is actually a gentle slope, but steeper slope is the leeward side. So it's called also the blowout dunes, and this shape is called the parabolic dune. This slide shows the feature which is called the transverse dunes, a large, strongly elongated dune laying at right angle to the prevailing wind direction. Transverse dunes have a gently sloped windward side and steeply sloping leeward side. They generally form in areas of sparse vegetation and abundant sand. So most of the desert environment composed of these type of environment which are under the deposition work of the wind.